And it's frustrating because people never get it. Now, I'm not saying, I don't assume for any second that my channel is going to change the world. If I keep saying it, people will eventually get it and I'm going to change culture. No, I'm a YouTube channel. I'm not even a big YouTube channel. Obviously, I know. But it is frustrating. I've had this experience, and maybe in fact, I know a lot of you have had this experience too, because you've told me in the comments to videos occasionally, where you're talking to somebody who is a fan of whatever the, Disney Star Wars or whatever. Um, and you're trying to tell them, look, this isn't good and this is why, and why would you support the same continuity, and you're laying out all the reasons and you're laying out all the logic, and they don't have anything for you. All they fall back on is, I mean, it's just so fun though. It was just so good though. I gotta, it's like talking to a wall. And what I realized, and that's really frustrating because I do that a lot, I have that experience a lot. Even with people who kind of like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I really am against that. I am against that. But I really hope they do well in the next season of Mandalorian because blah, blah, blah. Like they can't, it's like they're not hearing what you're saying at all. And they just they keep going back to it. And thus far, my motivation or my method has been to try to educate people that, this is what's going on. You need to consume stories responsibly. You need to realize that the types of stories you say yes to, there are consequences to those for our culture, for the mythologies in terms of the franchises, for yourself individually, for your psychology and whatnot. And I've pointed that out so many times, but it falls on deaf ears so many times. And I've realized what the problem is this. Our culture doesn't teach people how to receive stories. It doesn't educate people how to receive stories. Think about it like this. If a 5-year-old is let loose in a grocery store to go buy groceries, whatever they want to eat that night, well, they're going to load up with the candy. They're going to load up with, just junk food, total junk food. And this is what they're going to eat for that next week or month or whatever. Maybe even younger, even go to like a 4-year-old or something. And if you try to explain to that 4-year-old and you hold up their little bag of M&Ms and you say, look, I know this tastes good, and then you hold up the broccoli crown and you say, but this is good for you. And if you eat too much of this stuff that tastes good, it's actually going to make you sick. It's actually going to hurt you. It's not going to be good for you. It's going to cause a lot of problems for you. That you need to eat this broccoli here because that's going to be better for you. That 4-year-old would look at you like, are you insane? What are you even talking about? That's ridiculous. That 4-year-old would laugh at you, mock you, think you're so stupid because you want them to eat this thing instead of just enjoying the M&Ms. What's the big deal? Just enjoy it. And but a 4-year-old grows up, right? A 4-year-old is taught by society, whether it's in school, parents, doctors, our culture gathers around that 4-year-old and says, hey, you do need to eat well. You do need to pay some sort of level of attention to getting vitamins and nutrients and whatnot. And yeah, we have people that don't eat healthy or do eat healthy, but at least that's culture is still trying to teach people that it's good to eat healthy, right? That's something that we haven't lost yet. And as a result, the older somebody is, the more they're going to understand what you're saying. They still might not listen to you, but somewhat. But they're not going to think you're silly for saying that they should eat the broccoli instead of the M&Ms. When it comes to how to consume entertainment, though, how to consume stories, everybody in culture today are a bunch of 4-year-olds. They're just 4-year-olds. They've never been educated past that level because our culture's never bothered educating them past that level. And there are reasons for that we'll get into. But everyone's basically little 4-year-olds when it comes to, not everyone. I know some of you here are a little bit more educated in this or have, got a little bit more discernment and whatnot. But people are basically 4-year-olds when it comes to just watching stuff on TV or whatever. And they laugh at you, right? You say, hey guys, maybe that Mandalorian season finale, even though it had Luke and everybody squeeing, or even the Picard, you had your fifis and everything, maybe that's still not exactly a good thing. You're ridiculous. Why don't we just enjoy the M&Ms, right? That's their 4-year-olds, and they have no concept of no higher cognitive ability, no education of why this would be bad for them. Culture has never taught them any better. And I think the answer is to educate people. They need to be educated, and I'll get to that in a second, but I think the reason for yeah, thank you, Studio Super, the 4.99 super chat. Really appreciate that. So basically, people are getting obese on current entertainment. Yeah, I mean, you can carry the metaphor and continue it there. They're bloating their psyches with this fluff, and it doesn't mean that you have to, make sure that you're turning your TV off and reading Shakespeare. No, it just means make sure you're putting some quality story into your mind, into your soul, so that and putting it out there and supporting it in culture, because quality story is going to do a better job. And quality story isn't just a matter of this enclosed episode being written well. That's important. That's a good start, but it's also a matter of the overall season arc, of the overall continuity that this unit takes place in and is supporting. Because yes, support for season 3 of Picard is support for season 1. You can lie to yourself about that all you want, but it is. It's support for STD. It's support for any of that nonsense, and because it's the same continuity. And people try to do all these mental gymnastics about how it's not really, and blah blah blah. And I think that, society doesn't, our culture doesn't come around people and teach them how to be, educate them how to receive stories in a healthy way, consume stories in a healthy way, because culture doesn't want them to, right? Culture doesn't, culture can control you. The big movers and shakers, in the world can control you better if they can control the stories that you partake of, the stories that you consume. That's the basic, any government that wants to have more control over people, totalitarian regime or something, for example, just to give you an extreme scenario, control the content, right? Remember, in the Soviet Union, they were trying to outlaw different writers, different, stories and whatnot. And you could only, engage with entertainment that was approved by the regime. I'm just using that as an extreme example to point the same methods are at play here with the ideologues. For example, ideologues want you to consume a certain type of story. They'll happily throw you a little member berry or a little tasty bone if it'll keep you coming back to that franchise through which they're trying to preach their agenda. And that's what we see everywhere. And people have such a hard time understanding this. It's basically postmodernism. And they don't even know that sometimes, because they fall back into this idea, look, I can just like whatever I want to like. Look, it's art. And if I like it, one man's good art is another man's bad art. It's all subjective, whatever, art. You try to enforce on somebody, hey, art is objective. There is a quality, a craft to writing. There's not merit to just any old story someone wants to grab out of their nose and throw out there. It's not just about, well, what some people will like it and some people won't. That's postmodernism. That's truth is relative. That's exactly what it is. And even people who will, try to critique postmodernism in that kind of idea will sometimes still, once you talking about story, no, it doesn't play the story though. Story is just, it's totally subjective, and I can do whatever, and I can watch whatever, and it's just fine. And they have this mentality that, hey, it's just about enjoying things. Hey, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. Just don't stop critiquing it. Just don't watch. Just go find something you do like. Just entertainment is just there for your fifis. That's all it's for. Just go find something that makes you feel good. That's all it's for. And that's the 4-year-old in the grocery store, right? Just go find some food that makes you feel good, that you love to eat, tastes good on your tongue. That's all it's for. Well, we know that's not what all food is for. Food's there to nourish your body. And sometimes you have to eat stuff that isn't quite as good as other stuff. And sometimes if you start eating stuff that you initially don't think is quite as good, but it's healthier for you, you will develop a taste for it. I enjoy broccoli as part of meals now, where I didn't as a child. So it's about learning. It's about educating yourself for that. And people can't get over that initial, no, I've got to have total freedom. It's all got to be about, my enjoyment and this and that. And they don't want to cultivate a taste or anything like that. People, I remember when I was talking about how, yeah, if your taste is these poor quality movies, then you have bad taste. You need to work on cultivating your taste. People got their panties all in a twist. Oh, you can't tell people their taste is bad. Because they're protecting this little idea that they can watch whatever they want and it doesn't hurt them, and it's just about their enjoyment, and you shut up and don't say anything bad about what other people like, because hey, that's not something for everybody and whatever. No, if it's subjective, if there's a craft to it, then yes, you can say this is good for you, this is not good for you, objectively speaking. And I think people need to be educated on that, on a ground floor level. What I mean is not just getting that message out there just now, because that message out there isn't going to mean a thing to the 4-year-old in the store. Whatever is stupid, I'm just still going to eat the M&Ms. What you need to take to the 4-year-old is start saying, look, and as they grow older a little bit too, and they're ready to learn things about the food groups. Or food groups aren't even a thing anymore, I don't think, which are stupid. But learn things about what foods have vitamins and what the vitamins do for your body, and why you can't have too much sugar and how that's bad for your body and what that does. You need to start on a ground floor level and teach them things. And I think when it comes to teaching people how to consume stories in a responsible manner, in a more educated manner, is teaching them from the ground floor up how this story is affecting them. What are the attributes that go into creating a story? What are some certain what virtues should be in a story? What's good storytelling craft, whether that's a written tale or a television show or a film or whatever. Start analyzing it. And that's why, I would do those book studies at times. I used to do rewatches, at times. And I got away from that because I didn't know if it was doing so much good. And I think it needed to be tweaked a lot. But that's why I realized that's what I need to do a little bit more on my channel. I need to start analyzing some stories, whether they're books or even film rewatches or whatever, in ways that are going to help people appreciate the craft and appreciate, oh, yeah, that's why that movie is just objectively better. It's a better crafted story or crafted film than this thing over here, this fluff that you just want to defend or pour your time into. Like when Avatar 2 came out, I didn't bother watching it because I knew from the quality of Avatar 1 that it was going to be the same thing, and it turns out it was. But even people who loved Avatar 2 and were defending it were saying, guys, okay, the story's a little weird. The story's not really all that great together, but the visuals, oh, you got to go see this in the theater, experiencing all the visuals. And what are visuals? If the story's not there, what are visuals? That's a moving painting. That's not a story. If the story's not well done, I don't care how well the visuals are. It doesn't mean that there's not merit in learning from a film's really great cinematography, even if the story's crap. I don't think Citizen Kane, for example, is the best written story ever, but it's the cinematography in that, that people really that put it on the map. And, the direction from Orson Welles and so forth, just to give an old example. But yeah, it's watching films, dissecting the elements that go into the filmmaking, the camera angles, the cuts, the edits, when it's about reading a book, looking at the narration, the narrative perspectives, the tension, the pacing of a story, the character development. And these are words that a lot of people might have heard, and they might kind of claim they know what they are, but they really don't. They really don't, especially when it gets down to prose level stuff too. They've never been educated in that. And there's a certain level too. Like if you're going to be a writer, obviously you better know a lot more about storycraft than the average person. So I'm not saying everybody needs to be experts on all of this stuff, but I do think the general base level of education, in our culture needs to be raised a bit when it comes to stories and storycraft and what they do for you. If you understand that, then you can have that conversation with the person about, that's why this kind of story isn't really all that good for you or good for society. The 4-year-old starts to get it. They grow up a little bit and they start to get it. Right now, I'm just talking to a bunch of 4-year-olds in culture, like, no, the M&Ms are yummy. That's what it's like talking to a Mandalorian fan.